Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Today we are here with Stephanie DeLussey, who's going to talk to us all about IEPs. My name is Mara Koffmann. I am the co-founder and CEO of Braintrust. We are a platform where parents can connect to certified teachers and learning specialists for private tutoring. And I would love to have Stephanie introduce herself because she's a super experienced teacher and an expert in IEPs, as we were discussing before we hopped on, who I think is going to have so many great recommendations to share with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about this. So my name is Stephanie DeLussey. I'm a certified special education teacher. I'm actually dual certified, maybe tri-certified. I don't know, like you go state to state. I've worked in 5 different states. I've been certified in 7 different states. So like it's all different. But anyway, I'm certified in special education. I've been in the field for about 10 years. And yeah, I love IEPs, which is like not the teacher norm. Like when you say IEP, most teachers are like, oh, yes, let's go. Like I'm here for it.
And I think so many parents feel the same way too.
Yeah.
It's a term that kind of creates anxiety.
It's definitely a trigger word. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I understand that.
So, just as a intro, what exactly is an IEP and how is it used in the classroom?
So an IEP is an individualized education program. That's what IEP stands for. It's an acronym for Individualized Education Program. And basically it is federal law, the IDEA law, that gives students and families that have children with special needs rights to a free, appropriate public education, which is FAPE. And I know I just threw like a bunch of special ed jargon out at you guys. So basically, in everyday terms, an IEP is what gives students with special needs, disabilities, and differences access to the general ed curriculum. So what their same-aged peers are working on at grade level.
Yes. And the goal is always inclusion.
Yes.
And so the IEP helps to make sure that a student is going to have the support they need to be in the most inclusive environment they can.
Correct. So it's called the LRE, the least restrictive environment, and that's different for each student. It really depends on what your child needs. It's very individualized, which is the I in IEP, right? So it's very individualized and you go through the whole process and it's a lot of things, but it really does give your student, your child, everything that they need to be successful in the classroom.
And once the IEP is in place, how frequently is it adjusted over the course of the year?
So in most states, okay, don't quote me, but like, because it's different from state to state. So federal law tells us there are certain things. So every year you have to have an annual IEP meeting. You have to review all of the data from that year. So within your IEP, your child's going to have IEP goals. So these are things that your child has to master. So things like addition, or maybe you're working on potty training, or maybe you're working on using a fork to eat. So really there's this huge span of skills that your child can be working on underneath the umbrella of an IEP. And every year you come back together as a team, your child's teacher, caseload manager, all of those people, the service providers, you come together and meet at least minimum once a year and go over it to write a new IEP for the upcoming year. So at least once a year. And then every 3 years, you get reevaluated. So you get basically retested to make sure that the IEP, you still need an IEP, you still need these services, to make sure that the services that you're getting are the correct ones, that you don't need more services or maybe you need less services. So it really just kind of depends on the state and the district and like the rules and all of those things. But those are pretty much the umbrella of it. Every year you have a review, and then every 3 years you get reevaluated.
Right. And the trigger for creating an IEP is a diagnosis of some sort of disability as the result of a neuropsychological evaluation.
Correct. Yes.
And so for everybody watching, I will also link to, we have a whole blog post on all of the jargon related with special ed. We'll have a link to that, and also a video with a neuropsychologist talking about the neuropsychological evaluation process for those that are curious about learning more about that.
Yeah.
So in your experience, what are your top 3 tips that you would give to parents as they take on this new role as the advocate for their child at these meetings?
Okay, so I had to write them down because I could give you like this super long list. So some of them might be like tip 3, A and B. So I might have more than 3. So the first one for parents is to make sure that you're an equal part of the IEP team. So your school that your child goes to wouldn't be there at that IEP meeting without your child, and your child wouldn't be there without you. So you are an equal member, and there is legal like jargon in the IDEA law that says you are an equal member of the IEP team. So that means that you should be asked for your opinion, your concerns, your thoughts, all of these things, and they have to go into also making this IEP. It's not you come to the IEP meeting, say, yep, that's good, and walk away. Like, that's not how this works, guys. You have say in the services that your child receives. So that's my first, like, that's the biggest tip. Like, you are an equal member of the IEP team. Yeah. Okay, number 2, make sure that you know your IEP rights, or not your IEP rights, your rights according to the IDEA law. Now, I know you don't want to like go read law, because that is like, it's even boring to me. Like, I love writing IEPs and all that. I don't want to read the law. And I know that you guys don't want to read the law. So the rights law website, if you have questions, it's WRIGHTSlaw.com. You can search with like questions. They have books that are fantastic. Just make sure that you know your legal rights as a parent, and you know that you know your child's legal rights as a student with special needs. So that's also equally as important. Number 3, okay, wait, I wrote like 3 other things down. So let me pick which one, like, I think is like the top.
As many as you want. I'm sure that everyone wants all of this information.
Okay. Number 3, so ask what you can do at home. So like ask the IEP team, ask the teachers, ask the service providers what you can do at home to also help your child master those IEP goals that they're working on. It's not just like a one-sided thing where the school is doing all of this work. Like, you are also part of the IEP team, and you also have to help your child succeed too. So ask the school what you can specifically do or work on, or how to do something. A lot of public schools offer, oh man, what's it called? It's like parent training or something. And they come into your house, or they meet with you at like the school board place, whatever it's called. And they will walk you through how to do certain things with your child, how to, master this goal, what you should be working on. So definitely look into that and ask about that, because it is one of your rights too under IDEA law.
It also brings up one really important thing about the whole IEP process is that it's not just saying that this is the goal, but this is how we are going to measure progress towards the goal. And that data piece is a really important part of it. And so I think once parents understand that, 1, there are these goals, and 2, this is how we are going to measure progress towards those goals. Understanding that there are stepping stones that will lead to the end point is really important. And also understanding the fact that it's going to require lots of opportunities for practice and reinforcement. And those opportunities aren't always easy to achieve in the classroom, given all of the other things that are happening all the time. The more that parents can work as a team with the school to provide that support and reinforcement, the more likely a child is to achieve those goals and move towards, the moving out of the special ed system, because of course that's kind of all the goal.
It also works both ways. So like you're saying that parents need to work with the school, like the schools also need to work with the parents. Like it's both ways. So if you're a parent watching this and you're like, my school district like is not working with me at all, you're not alone in what you're going through. Just keep advocating for your child. Like, just keep doing it.
It's your job to be a pain in the butt.
It is, and it's okay to be a pain in the butt. Like it is, because you just want what's best for your child. And at the end of the day, that is what the IEP team is there for. So which also brings me to this other thing that I was going to share for parents, and it's kind of just like a tip, not just from like the teacher perspective, but also, so I'm not in the classroom anymore, but I work with teachers, like special ed teachers, and I work with parents. So I've been reading a lot of IEP books in relation to like parent concerns in relations to IEPs and what parents need to know about IEPs. And the one thing that I do want to share with you is parents, just be realistic in the goals that you're wanting to have set for 1 year. Like we were just talking about, some goals are really hard to achieve and they're stepping stones to get you there. So let's just say, for example, that you want your child to be able to walk up the steps independently. That is a huge goal. That is a great goal, great for independence, long-term living, employment, all of those things, being able to walk up steps independently. So you also have to think about so how many steps is it? Is it 20 steps? How often are they going up these steps? And can they do it now? So baseline, what are they able to do right now? Mm-hmm. So say your child is not able to go up the steps at all, and you have an IEP goal that says, we're going to walk up this set of steps by the end of the year, and you get to 3 months down the road and your child still isn't walking up the steps, or even 3 steps. The stepping stones are maybe we are learning how to hold onto a railing as we're walking. Or maybe we're doing 1 step at a time and we can master 2 steps, but we haven't gotten to 3 steps yet. So just be realistic and be patient in your child, and know that it's very important to go from A to Z, but you have to hit all the other stepping stones along the way.
Yeah. I have a boy that I'm working with now who is so proud to tell me that his class has started doing long division work. And I sort of brought up the fact that we're still working on multiplication and he hasn't quite mastered multiplication yet. And so I think, there's also this thing of sometimes the pace of the whole classroom can be really quick, but the whole purpose of the IEP and that sort of specialized focus and support is really to, again, target specific skills that are those stepping stones to independence and more classroom success. So, you don't want to skip over a skill in the interest of pushing ahead further if that skill hasn't actually been mastered in a way that's going to help it serve as a strong foundation.
Right.
So, it can be painfully incremental, but I think, any teacher would understand and recognize that painfully incremental progress is going to lead to far more gains down the line because you build from it.
And this is where parent input, making sure you're an equal part of the team and you're telling the IEP team what your concerns are. This is, that's part of the whole process. If you don't share that, the IEP team doesn't know. So maybe your child can walk up the flight of steps at school because it's only 5 steps. Mm-hmm. And there's somebody there doing it with them, but you still haven't mastered that skill at home. We don't know that unless you tell us. So if you still want to work on that skill, then put that in your parent concerns and have it written into the IEP, that you want to work on this skill. So that's also where making know your rights as a parent, make sure you're an equal part of the team. It literally brings it full circle to make sure that all of these things are getting worked on for your child. Yeah.
That's excellent. And what about for teachers? Because I know that, before we went live, there was a discussion about the fact that every single teacher learns about the fact that IEPs exist and they're such an important part of a child's education.
Right.
And meeting their rights under IDEA and, all of the things that we're supposed to do. But you never, ever learn to actually write an IEP when you are preparing to become a teacher.
You don't. And parents' brains probably just went, what?
Frightening, but true.
Yes.
So I think, having a master IEP coach available to give some of these recommendations is not only really informative for parents, but also for teachers who, I'm sure feel very nervous about having to take this very important but daunting challenge.
Yeah.
So what are your top tips and recommendations for teachers who have to
Actually, I have less tips for teachers than I do for parents. Because I feel like as a teacher, like we're so school focused, right? So like being out of the classroom now, I'm like, now I want parents to know about this and this and this and this and all these things. So teachers, I still have your back. So hang in there with me. I do have tips for you. So my first and like biggest tip for teachers is to use an IEP calendar. Now it doesn't have to be like a specific calendar. I have used like the big desk calendars. I've used like the flip through calendars. You can use a digital calendar. At the beginning of every school year, go through all of your caseload. So all of the students that are on your caseload that have special needs that you have to write IEPs for, or that you have to go to the IEP meeting. Take all of those dates that they're due and write them in your calendar. And then, so when I taught in Texas, we had to send draft IEPs home, like, I forget if it was 3 or 5 days, but I always sent them home, like, I tried to send them home a week beforehand. So parents had enough time. So this is also like tip 2. Have your draft IEP done beforehand and send it home so parents have enough time to read it and be able to respond and come to the IEP meeting with like suggestions and concerns and all of that stuff. But by doing this calendar, not only are you visually able to see, hey, I have an IEP meeting coming up on January 5th. I don't know what day of the week that is, but so let's just say, so Stephanie's IEP meeting is January 5th. And I'm like, it's December 18th. Christmas break is coming. I don't want to write an IEP over Christmas break. So maybe I should work on it now, or like at least start it. So when I go back to school, we'll know, because you would want to ideally send it home before winter break so that parents could look at it over winter break. So let's pretend the IEP is due like January 15th. So when I get back to school January 3rd, for example, I'm throwing random dates out there. I can come back to school and I either have it already started, or I know like this is the first thing that I need to work on when I come back to school. This is the most important thing that needs done. It needs prioritized and it needs to get done so I can send it home by the end of this week or by the beginning of next week. That calendar will save your butt so many times and will also help you feel less stressed when it comes to feeling like, oh my gosh, I have 3 IEPs due in April. You can literally be like, okay, well, this is the first one. I'm going to start it now in March and send it home. And then you can start on the second one and you just work your way down that list. It truly is a lifesaver, even just having the dates on the calendar. And then also sending the draft IEP home to parents. Make sure that it's labeled draft and make sure that they are aware that it is a draft and it is not like the final IEP. And some parents don't know that, like don't assume that they understand that this is just a draft. Call them and say, hey, I'm sending home Stephanie's draft IEP in the mail today, or I'm sending it in her backpack, be on the lookout for it. These are just kind of what I was thinking in terms of putting on her IEP, but please feel free to like write all over it, put sticky notes, email me with questions, call me back with like concerns or things you want changed. Nothing is set in stone. Because you can't go to an IEP meeting with like the IEP already written. Like that's not how this works either. So nothing is set in stone when it's a draft. So that all being said, like include parents in the process. That is my third tip. I'm coming back to parents again. Parents, I love you guys. Like I'm very happy in this team. So use an IEP calendar, send the draft home to parents at least like a couple of days in advance so they have time to look at it, and include parents in the process. So whether that's sending home like a parent questionnaire or just giving them a call or sending them like a Google form to fill out, include them in the process. They are part of the IEP team and they are with the child most of the time of the day, like of that child's day, and they know that child better than anybody else in the IEP team. So it is very, very important that we include them in that process.
Yeah. And I think that, again, like organization and communication are central to the success of this process, which also makes me think of one of the challenges that I imagine a lot of teachers have when it comes to kind of like tracking goals and tracking towards goals and data collection. So, one thing that comes to mind for me, because I remember when I had students and we were working on behavior charts, for example, and really kind of tracking and managing behavior, one of the things that could be really difficult, especially when you have multiple students that you're keeping track of in the classroom, is data management and making sure that you are keeping that organized, and also that you have a system that allows you to pay enough attention to all of the students in your classroom in that organized sort of way. So was there any one kind of strategy that you found to be helpful when you were doing this?
I love data collection. It is like my thing. And so I actually have the website called the Intentional IEP, and I teach teachers how to collect data over there. But I also on mrsdscorner.com have blog posts about how to collect data. I actually have some sitting here right in front of me now. I actually use sticky notes to collect data, and something I call progress monitoring binder rings. And it's all the child's IEP goals with all of the data and all of the things on them. And you can just like, say you have like an IEP meeting, or you have a parent meeting comes in like end of the day, you didn't know in 5 minutes you've got to get ready. You can just pull this binder ring and the student's IEP binder and just have everything ready to go for this meeting last minute. So yeah, if you guys have more questions about that, let me know, because I'm your girl. I love data collection.
I think that seems so important because it's crucial to the meeting. It's crucial to making progress and monitoring progress towards those goals and setting those goals at every single meeting. And teachers have endless responsibility in the classroom, and that can feel like an overwhelming addition. And you know, again, I think it all just goes back to organization and you know, learning from a pro rather than having to figure it out yourself, I think is also one of the things. Like, teachers are always trying to reinvent the wheel and figure out how to get things done. But sometimes, you know, while there are systems that work best when they're your systems, there's also things that if they exist and they're easy and they've been tried and tested and true, it can make your life so much easier to know about those resources. And the Intentional IEP seems like it could be one of those.
Thanks. Yeah. So sticky note data is like, you can take data anywhere, at any time, in any situation, on anything. Like, I am the type of person who has sticky note to-do lists for everything. So this just kind of came out of the need. I knew that I needed to take data, and I was sitting, you know, at the back kidney bean table with all of my kids, and I didn't have a data sheet with me. I didn't have it printed out, and I was just like, I'm just gonna use the sticky note. And like, that's how it was born. And that's it. Like, I don't do data any other way, unless I have to do like the frequency behavior or like bathroom charts or things like that. But like, sticky note data is the simplest, easiest way. You can do multiple kids at once. Like, it's, I could talk about it forever.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your experience and your wisdom. I think that this is such an important part of our job as both teachers supporting students in the classroom, of helping these students to grow and achieve their goals, and also making sure that parents feel supported and involved in this process as well. So it's such an important topic, and I'm really grateful that you took the time to share with us.
I'm so happy that you asked me to be here. I'm so happy that I get to help teachers and parents with the whole IEP process, because I really enjoy it. And I know it's not something that everybody enjoys. So if I can make it just a little bit easier for teachers and parents, like, I'm totally here for it.
That's really, really great. Well, thank you again. And we'll be in touch, and I'll post this on the blog with all of our key takeaways from the conversation as well, so that parents and teachers can have a really quick reference to find all of this information.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Bye.